Hi there, folks. It's time for a book review, and I've been reading this book. It's The Stonehenge Legacy by Sam Krister. It's a thriller set, as you can probably tell, around Stonehenge. So before I go into whether it's a good read or not, I'll just explain the premise. Obviously, it's a thriller. So it starts out with a group of robed people. And you realise after a while that what is happening is that they are carrying out a human sacrifice. The next thing you find out is that nearby, in a very large house, a man commits suicide. We don't know at the time how these two things are connected, but the man's son the man's son Gideon is kind of one of the main characters of the book. He arrives to sort out his father's estate and starts to find clues and codes relating to this strange brotherhood connected with Stonehenge. Meanwhile, Detective Inspector Megan Stone is investigating the suicide of the man Nathaniel Chase, Gideon's father, and also she is asked to investigate the disappearance of a young man that we know was the man that was sacrificed. So that's basically the beginning premise, but it kind of heats up as we realise that this kind of strange group of people believe in stones of Stonehenge kind of being sacred beings that promote complete health and healing. But in order to do that, they have to have human sacrifice. And it turns out, gradually we realise that quite a lot of people in this brotherhood are people in positions of, I suppose, trust in the outside world and power. So they are not going to be easily discovered. The way they choose the next sacrifices, a person has to touch one of the stones, and just by chance, the next person to touch a stone happens to be the daughter of the American vice president, who has escaped from her bodyguards to go out with a local young man. So from there, it really heats up, as obviously the police and the FBI believe that she's been kidnapped and they're going to have to pay a ransom, etc. But we know different. And it's Gideon and Megan, the female detective inspector, that are the main people that sort of get to realise eventually what's going on. So that's a basic premise. The big question is, what did I think of it? Let me just look at the positives first. It's a quick read. Although it's quite chunky, the chapters are quite short, and each chapter is split up into... So, like many thrillers, not all by any means, it is very much a plot-led story, which is fine. I don't mind a plot-led story. I prefer a character-led story where you get more in-depth feeling for the characters, and it's where the characters are the sort of main interest of the plot. And most classical novels are character-led. I have no problems with plot-led stories, but I do have a few problems with this book. First of all, I did find parts of the premise rather unbelievable. There's a whole part of the setting is a whole underground, like a huge space, like a cathedral, where the whole of the Stonehenge seems to be replicated. And I could not get my head around that. So there were parts of it I found really difficult to invest in. Also, I was a little bit disappointed. I mean, I picked this up because it's obviously the setting with Stonehenge, and I love all things like my brother who is half of the prehistory guys here on YouTube. I love anything to do with ancient stones, or barrows, and that sort of thing. But I was rather disappointed that he doesn't really there's no real engagement with the complete mystery and history of the stones. Yes, he talks about them being thought of as healing, but he doesn't go into the history of that. And we know that these stones came from the Preseli Mountains in Wales, and the legend has it that they were thought to be healing, which is one of the theories of why they were brought to Wiltshire, to possibly we don't know, but that's one theory. But he doesn't really go into that. You don't get any sense of the sort of absolute complete awe of, of the presence or the how or the why of Stonehenge, which we still don't know how on earth these stones were brought. There's too much going on outside. It's gone. She's a little overexcited because there's a big skip outside my neighbour's house. It's it's freaking her out. Where was I? So yes, there is nothing about that complete mystery of Stonehenge, which is one of its attractions, I suppose. We just don't know how it was done, how they brought these absolutely gigantic stones all the way from Wales and built them in the way that they did. So that really isn't gone into at all. Also, it's a little bit homespun Da Vinci Code. It's meant, I feel it's a little bit hanging on the shirt tails of Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code. I wasn't particularly impressed by the Da Vinci Code, so the odds on were that I wasn't going to be terribly impressed by this either. And, like the Da Vinci Code, the characters I found were a little bit two-dimensional. They were kind of dropped at the end. Right at the end, when things kind of come to a head and get resolved, there's a very, very brief summary of the aftermath, but nothing at all about anything that happens to the main characters afterwards. They just kind of get dropped. I really, really didn't like that. It really annoyed me. So basically, as soon as it finishes. So that's it, really. And we all like what we like. If you like this kind of book, that's absolutely fine. I have no problem with that. If you like a thriller that's plot-led, easy to read, quick to read, and you don't mind a little bit of unbelievable kind of secret sect, underground stone chambers and passages kind of thing, then you might like it. Go ahead, have a look, see what you think, see if your opinion differs from mine. But I wouldn't be rushing out to buy another Sam Christer book. Sorry, Sam Christer. I kind of enjoyed it in parts, but I found it in the end a little bit disappointing for me. So that is my review of this book. Sadly, not a book about Stonehenge that fills me with any great feeling of the place, of the history at all. But if you like that sort of thing, then fine. It's a story that's quite exciting. It is, the story itself is quite exciting and thrilling. So there you are. Now, if you want to read my review on another recent thriller I read, which I think is better written, then you might like to see my review of Ken Follett's A Dangerous Fortune, if you haven't seen this video already. A little bit better. So the book I'm going to read next, I think I'm going to enjoy more because it's the second in the Philippa Gregory trilogy. I reviewed the first, I think it was last month actually, and I'm now going to read the second in the trilogy, Dark Tides. So look out for that. Might be a while, usually about 2 or 3 weeks. And my next video, this time, I know I promised this in my last video, but this time I will do the next in my A to Z as authors from my bookshelf. And I've got a really good one coming up soon. So make sure you're subscribed to make sure you get to see that. And I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.